What is up, Dodger fans, the franchise Dodger Familia? Welcome to another episode of the Let's Be Frank podcast. I am Frank Lopez, as always, alongside my wonderful co-host, Mr. Frank Martinez. Frank, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying the morning time recording sessions here.
Yeah, I in like the editing and posting of the episodes, I do feel like we're a little bit more wide-eyed and bushy-tailed when when the sun's up, naturally. So maybe I'm less of a night owl than I thought I originally thought I was. But yeah, look, another week of Dodger baseball. Last week we recorded, I think, on Wednesday also. This week we're recording on Wednesday after the second game of the Arizona series, which we're currently split. But since then, the Dodgers beat Philly in a series, 2 games out of three, series that could have been a sweep against a really talented team, which we were anticipating. It's one of those I would say one of those you kind of circle on the schedule going into the season to see what it's going to look like. And the Dodgers kind of just take care of business there, go into Arizona. And that first game, actually, the first couple games have just been a little annoying in my opinion, but regardless, we're able to squeak a win out of there. But specifically out of that Philadelphia series, Frank, any major takeaways that you can?
From the team, no, they won the series, which is really that's the end game. That's the end result, right? That first game that prevented it from being a sweep. They had a lead late in the game. Tanner Scott had a clunker. I keep hearing a lot of people. Um, they just have, I feel like a lazy opinion on Tanner Scott, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he sucks. Like it was a wasted contract." I'm like, "Yeah, he's had a night and day different season from last year to this year, like completely. Everything, his stuff, his pitch mix, his results, like everything is complete. Like this is what we're paying him for, and he's
Mhm.
performing. Especially when the guy that we went out and got this offseason is down with an injury. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, he gave that up. I'm not too worried. Like that was every closer has games like that.
Yeah.
Uh, and outside of that, it could have been a sweep in that series. And
Mhm.
just the continued upward swing of the Dodgers, they're distancing themselves from their division rivals. And the Philly series just proved that there's levels to this, and the Dodgers are at a different level than the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah. Look, with Tanner Scott in particular, and I think it's worth bringing up. It's come out that him and his family received just some really bad threats after that game, and um, so I think that we're both aligned when we say that that's horrible. We don't
Yeah,
obviously
unacceptable, right? You're not a fan.
almost needless to say, but still worth saying. That's just something that uh, no Dodger fan should ever condone, and much less even think about either typing out, sending, doing. So this is a game after all, and it shouldn't come down to that. But just to the overall just feeling about Tanner Scott from the fan base, yeah, I mean, look, it's a lazy take to think that that outing is a reflection on this season. Tanner Scott arrived a year late. That's just kind of the way I'm looking at it, right?
There
We
it is.
signed him after 2024. He arrived after 2025, and this season, you look at his stats. He's got pretty much a 2 ERA, which ERA is kind of fickle when it comes to relievers, but he's still keeping it low, which means guys aren't really scoring. But he's got 29 strikeouts in 25 innings, 6 saves, and a .7 whip. That's walks plus hits per innings pitched. With relievers, that's I think the most important stat, right? When it comes to base runners, guys, anything other than an out. How often is that happening? .7 times per inning that's happening. So I think, yeah, he's here. He's arrived. Tanner Scott has arrived, and even that series, even that game, he got some really bad swings. I think from Schwarber and from
Correct.
Bryce Harper. And I just remember watching this. I just feel like that the result there didn't reflect the stuff. And when you're that type of pitcher, that's gonna happen, right? And um, nice to see that last night he comes out, takes care of business, fields his position, right? A little PFP. You don't really like to see that from closers too too often. Fires it over to first, gets an out on a strangely timed bunt,
Oddly.
oddly timed bunt. Left-handed pitcher falling off the mound to the third base side. Arguably one of your one of your best hitters. Whatever. Thank you, Perdomo. Uh,
Yes.
but but all in all, it equals a save. It equals a Dodger win. And I mean, look, we're 6 games up in first place. But I think it was important to talk about Tanner Scott today. Do you agree?
Agreed. Yep. And he's got our support. I think he's going to be an important piece come October.
Yeah, I think he could be the Juan Uribe of the 2020s. You know, like remember Juan Uribe had that when he first came from the Giants. It was like post. I think he just come off his
Oh
World Series with the
gosh,
Giants, and he was
yeah.
awful, like awful. Um, just looked horrible. I think he probably gained a lot of weight, this and that. Not the case with Tanner Scott, obviously, but and ultimately nobody remembers that. Nobody remembers that because he ended up being one of the favorite players, had a big time playoff moment in 2013, right? So that's my prediction. Tanner Scott is our Juan Uribe of the 2020s. But but that said, look, the bullpen has had a couple hiccups in the past week or so. Regardless, it's still looking pretty good. And I think we kind of just know who our guys are now, right? Like you have your Tanner Scott, your Alex Vesia, Will Klein, right? It's nice to see that. I mean, after the moment that he had in the World Series, like that, it's not a one hit wonder, right? The stuff continues
No,
to be there, which is really encouraging and just looks just really confident on the mound. Like he knows that his stuff can get him out of any situation. And last night proved that, right? So very, very, very nice to see. And yeah, I mean, look, I we month of May is over, right? We're recording this what June 3rd. So I think a little recap of the month is in order. Dodgers go 16-9 in the month of May. Fantastic in my opinion. After I wouldn't call it a super slow start, but just like they stumbled a little bit into the season
yeah.
on their to their standards. But look, series wins, right? So those series that, um, 3, 4 game sets. Series wins over Houston, Anaheim, San Diego, Milwaukee, Colorado, Philadelphia. The only series we lost all the month of May was against the St. Louis Cardinals. It was the first series of the month of May. Figures. And we had that split in San Francisco of the 4 game set, which I think was the turning point. Those two
Yes.
games we lost, you win the next two, and then we kind of taken off from there. Is there one thing, one player, one person that you can point to that you think that we can maybe credit the most towards
Yeah,
this
I
little
think
turnaround?
you pay $700 million in deferred money towards him, and as he goes, almost so go the Dodgers in many respects, especially setting the order at the top of the lineup. And so yes, Otani has been he's turned it around, and he's every bit the Otani we've come to love and expect as a hitter as much as he's been as a pitcher. Now, obviously, the narrative up until right around that San Francisco series, somewhere in that time frame, early May, um, the pitching has been amazing, and everyone's thinking like, oh, this desire for Cy Young is or this effort, Cy Young effort is distracting from his hitting, or it's affecting him negatively as a hitter. And we're like, no, it might just be a slow start. He'll turn it around, and sure enough, he has turned it around in that time frame, and
Hmm.
so have the Dodgers.
Yeah, I guess just a slow offensive start from Shohei Ohtani, but he's arrived, right? Tanner Scott arrived a year late. I think offense Shohei Ohtani maybe arrived about a month late, a month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks to the 2026 season. But that said, I mean he's kind of the front runner for the Cy Young to this point of the season, and he's pitching tonight against in a you know in a pretty important divisional game, as important as it can be, I guess, at this point of the season in Arizona. Yeah, you alluded to the $700 million contract. There's only two of those guys in baseball at the moment, right? One of them plays in LA, the other one plays in Queens, New York. So a little foreshadowing into what we're going to get to in the later part of this episode. But some teams just do it differently. And so in this case, Shohei Ohtani just really proving his value, right? What are those $700 million going to? Well, hey, when this guy hits, your offense gets going. When he doesn't hit, it's going to be a little harder to really muster up some wins on the days where other things aren't clicking. And here we are, June 3rd. Seems like he's clicked, and he's every bit the guy that that we're used to him being now. So very, very, very nice to see. So yeah, let's get into the divisional race a little bit. The Dodgers are 6 games up on the Padres at the moment, 6.5 games up on Arizona. Then you got the Rockies way back, and you got the Giants in last place right now. Ouch. Um, So, look, nobody's going to argue that the Giants rosters are anywhere near the top two or three teams in that division. But also, too, I mean, to be worse than the Rockies at this point of the year is just not good. Actually, some funny, if you want to call it funny, last place teams right now. You got the Boston Red Sox in last place in the AL East. Um, I mean, Angels and Anaheim kind of fading at the moment, though. Cincinnati Reds are last place in NL Central, but that division is tight. I think they're all over 500 at the moment. The New York Mets are last place in the National League East. We mentioned a $700 million player in Los Angeles and that there's one in New York. His name is Juan Soto. And last season, the New York Mets did not make the playoffs, and that was the first season of his $700 million plus contract. And at this point in June, they're the last place in the National League East. Frank, we'll go back and forth here a little bit, but what do you think that the Dodgers are doing that maybe the Mets or other teams aren't?
Spending wisely, spending intently and wisely. You have to spend something, right? I
Yeah.
mean, payers have to be paid, but you have to also have to spend the right way and in
Hmm.
the right places. And that's what the Dodgers do better than any franchise in baseball. And their success has proven that. And their success is tied to that. It's not just spending in and of itself. And the Mets are proof of that. The Mets spend as much, if not more, than the Dodgers last season, at least, and didn't even make the playoffs. Other teams have went out and spent and had crazy off-season spending sprees and missed the playoffs. The Dodgers spend in all the right places, and you can talk about the ability to maybe write off a mistake, free agency mistake of that oh, and whatnot. Sure, sure, there's a conversation to just highlight there, but overall, that's a small part of the bigger picture. And so the Dodgers went out and spent a $700 million on a guy, and he has been the back-to-back league MVP. Looks like he's going for a third, possibly a Cy Young as well. The revenue, but also the personality, the character, the player that Shohei is, and the guy that the rest of the team wants to follow, right? And fits right into the culture, if not establishes some of the culture in a good way. And on top of that, you have the farm system. I mean, the Dodgers in everybody's rankings are top three, four farm system in baseball, depending upon what you're looking at. But they've got multiple guys in the MLB top 25, even more in the MLB top 50. And they're a top three farm system in baseball. The Mets are somewhere in the middle of the pack. And there's even more, the training staff, the analytics department, all those kind of things. Guys that they just signed. The other day, they signed Jason Hayward, right? Why did they sign Jason Hayward? What's the point? Well, he's a guy. He's a high character guy. He's a 15-year plus MLB veteran who's seen it all, been around. Those kind of guys help establish or keep your culture, and all that is what the Dodgers do well and better than anyone. And other teams, just because they can spend the same dollars, doesn't mean they're going to spend it the same way. And I think the Mets are proof positive of that.
Yeah, Dodger dollar is going to get you further than pretty much any other dollar. And yeah, I mean spending wisely. Like, look, financially, maybe the Dodgers have some more financial backing than the Mets. But as far as like willingness to spend, I think the Mets are kind of right there, right? You look at their salary cap, or you look at their payroll and kind of like what they've invested in their team. But I just can't get over like what other teams just like don't fail to realize that it's so much cheaper to invest in everything else around it and then just make smart moves onto your roster. Like I don't get what they don't understand. Like I'm looking at the standings right now pulled up right now. The Tampa Bay Rays are in first place again. Tell me how. Tell me
Right.
how that continues to happen. That the
Right.
Tampa Bay Rays are always a formidable team, tend to win the division, make it to a World Series, what, 6 years ago against the Dodgers, develop their players, and then you always have that sad moment when they let go of a guy, right? They trade him away, and you're like, oh my gosh, but here comes another one, right? And here comes another one. and they spend this much of what the Dodgers spend, this much, right? Meanwhile, you have a $700 million contract in New York that's getting you absolutely nothing, right? So I think again, I think people are making the wrong arguments, right? I think what the Dodgers have done is they've cornered teams into making like impulsive and emotional decisions, right? Because if you look at the Dodgers and the Mets in particular, they've gone after the same free agents for about 5 years now, right? Or since I would say in the Cohen era, right? They've gone after the same free agents, your Shohei Ohtani's, your Trevor Bauers, your guys like that, and they've won out, right?
Yeah.
Throw, Toronto into there as well and Yankees a little bit, whatever. But the Dodgers have won out on a few of those, right? And eventually the Mets got put in a position where, all right, we have to get the next guy, right? We have to. And you spend that much money on a guy that literally plays one aspect of the game, one aspect. And in here we have a generational, historic, once in a lifetime, what we think is a once in a lifetime player, making less than that guy at the end of his contract. So I get again, good luck. Um, Also, like the sole proprietorship is you kind of have like one owner over there, and he's gonna maybe lead the team into some impulsive decisions. Where as the Dodgers, yeah, we have our chairman and Mark Walter, but it's a committee. Every decision is collaboration, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge takeaway from the way that the Dodgers are able to do things. But they reinvest into their infrastructure, not only like physical into their stadium, but like building a new stadium in Ontario for their minor league team, right? Creating a whole new minor league team and having something nearby that the Dodgers own and um, really just investing into into the future all the while. I mean, just being a great baseball team. So uh, I I just to me it's lazy, right? The 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 perfect argument against what people are saying about the Los Angeles Dodgers is just the mere existence of the Tampa Bay Rays, in my opinion, right?
Right.
And do we expect them to beat the Dodgers in a 7 game series? No, right? But would it be that crazy for that to happen?
No.
No, right? The Toronto Blue Jays took us to 90 feet away from losing in game 7, right? Um, and it took crazy heroics for that not to happen. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm sick of it. I'm just like it's annoying because right now the CBA negotiations are starting. I guess I think the league just kind of put forth their first quote unquote offer, if you want to call it that, and it had to do with the salary cap. It was just kind of ridiculous. It's a starting point, right? And I think it'll end up somewhere in the middle. But with people saying things about the Dodgers, I think um, some Dodgers took exception to it. So I'm going to read off a little bit of what Dave Roberts had to say about it. He said, "My honest opinion is the majority of takes about the Dodgers couldn't be more lazy. That it's just about the payroll. It's about the draft. It's about layering on where we pick in the draft annually, the player development, how we acquire international talent, how we perform consistently at the major league level." That was his last point, was how we could perform consistently at the major league level, right? Miguel Rojas always has something to add to the conversation as well. At the end of the day, it's not about wasting money or spending money to buy the best players because that's not going to guarantee you anything. You can see it. There are another 5 or 6 clubs close to us in payroll, and they haven't accomplished it. That's why people aren't talking about them because they haven't won. People just talk about us, and that's something that I want to add to this, Frank, and then I'll shoot it over to you. But the Dodgers from 2013 on have had, or 2012, end of 2012 on, have had this ownership group, right? 2013 on, haven't missed the postseason. Didn't win a World Series until 2020, right? After it, getting after it over and over and over again, going for it, going for it, going for it, not winning. All the while, the rest of the league, every single time the Dodgers would get eliminated, wouldn't hesitate to just smear it in our face, right? 2020 happens. We finally win one, right? Mickey Mouse Championship, um, COVID championship, abbreviated season, doing everything to possibly discredit what the Dodgers accomplished, right? 2021, 2022, eliminated. 2021 by the Braves get a little revenge on us. 2022, 2023, eliminated in the divisional round by divisional opponents. Humiliating, right? You don't want to see that. And so the Dodgers, what are you left with, man? Like what are you left with? It's all right, cool. Let's use this money towards the big dog, right? You get Shohei Ohtani, back-to-back World Series championships, and it now, I mean, I don't. The only way that people can really choose to discredit is to saying it's because it's bought, right? It's from top to bottom strategy, right? Off the field, on the field, and the Dodgers picked theirs, um, and it's equal to World Series championships, right? So first of all, your favorite team, if it's not the Dodgers, can do more than they're doing. I promise you, right? They can invest more, right? Look at like just percentage of revenue spent on payroll. Not only did Dodgers make more money than anybody else, right? Except I want to say the Yankees. They spend more of a percentage of that towards their team than just about anybody. So I think the Mets are right there with them as well. But uh, so your team could do more, right? Dodgers commit more to reinvesting, and past that, I mean, look, I think they're going to continue to find ways to try to discredit it. But I mean, I'll keep taking the wins. What about you, Frank?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, if they weren't spending smartly and they just bought a super team that would ultimately flame out because personalities didn't mesh and there was no one to backfill the roster. There was no young guys also contributing. There was no Andy Pajes. There was, no Emmett Sheehan. There was no Justin Robleskis and guys like that. Then all those arguments would carry a lot more weight. But the fact is, the Dodgers do have these things, and so it's very right for the players, the staff, the manager, whoever else, to take offense to these narratives. Look, in the big picture, the Dodgers are just a scapegoat. They're a scapegoat for cheap owners who ultimately want a salary cap. Um, and I think that's what it comes down to. Because at the end of the day, that's the war. It's the big billionaires and the employees, the players, ultimately. And so the Dodgers are not a problem with baseball. They are, in fact, historically speaking, every era points to that when there's a dynasty in a given sport, it is good for that sport. On top of that, the parity in baseball is greater than all the other four major American sports. There have been more champions in the last 26 years, let's call it this century, in MLB than there have been in all the other four or the other American sports. So the Dodgers are doing what other teams should do. Now, could they do that? Do they have more access to dollars to do it a little bit better? Yes, but it doesn't mean that they would win the championship every single year. It just means that they'll give themselves a chance. And that's always been the biggest uh, benefit, right? That's always been the biggest blessing, really, as a fan, too, if you're a Dodger fan, is that they're giving yourself a chance. There are no really reset years, rebuilding years. You're not going to fire sell a team after a great run. Um, and so that's billionaire owners can do that in all the other markets.
Yeah. And not to mention, we talk about talent on the field. There's a lot of just really, I'll say lack of talent. There's a lack of talent with a lot of just the way ownership in baseball, right? It's top heavy. You want to talk about a top heavy major league roster? How about a top heavy league with ownership, right? Because there's people lining up at the door to own major league baseball teams that will invest the money. They will,
Yeah.
right? And it's to a disservice of the fans, right? That it's not happening because we lived it in real time, Frank. We lived it in the last, what, 15 years? The
Yeah.
last 15 years, we were at the bottom of the barrel when it came to talented owners. Let's call it talented, right? Because it's the same word we would use for what's on the field. Ownership talent. We were at the bottom of the barrel. We went into bankruptcy. The league had to cease operations of our team. Like that's insane, right? To think about. And now look at us, right? And what have they done? They've reinvested in the fan experience as well. We talked about last week about like going to the stadium and what it's like nowadays. It's crazy, man. There's like a concert in the center field plaza like every single before every single
Yeah.
game, right? Like the restrooms are nice. Like what? Like
Right.
um and the food's gotten a lot better. There's places to like sit and eat and enjoy yourself. You're not stuck on in your seat the entire game. The sound system, the jumbotron, the screen, just the everywhere you look, you can see the pitch count and the score. Like these are the things I care about, right? Like,
Absolutely. Yes.
you see the pitch count, player stats, this and that, like all the way around the stadium. There's something for absolutely everybody at Dodger Stadium. It's something for absolutely everybody, and it's creating, I think, just generational fans is what it is. And there's people. If you have a league, if your favorite team has a shitty owner, like I promise you that there are a line of billionaires that would be more than willing to take it from them, right? To buy it from them, probably over overpay for it as well, right? We talked a little bit about the Angels like a few weeks back, like that's one of them, right? And no, instead that hey, no, we'll just move our team from Oakland to Vegas and just see what happens over there. Go full an entirely new city, right? Into
Yeah.
thinking things are going to be different. Like no, like it's sad. It's sad, and I obviously we're going to feel passionately about this because we saw it in real time, man. Like we saw the 15-year evolution of like what you could take a franchise to, right? And obviously we play in LA and there's opportunities to have a global brand, right? Not every team is necessarily going to have something like that. But it's not impossible, right? Do you think the Kansas City Chiefs were going to be a global brand? Like, no, it took like one generation of players, right? That's kind of what it took,
Right.
right? The Golden State Warriors were just the bottom of the barrel of the league, right? And it took a generational player and a generational group of players and a good coach and now look, they're having a whole new arena and a whole new everything that you can build on the backs of like one really one generation of a good team, and teams just don't even want to try to accomplish that, man. They don't even want to try to accomplish that. It's so sad. Like I don't I can't stand it, man. And um so until the argument doesn't start until more teams do more, right? And if you're one of those fan bases that think a salary cap is going to make things more competitive, it's going to make things more competitive for the top 10 teams in the league.
Right.
Past
Yep.
that, your team is
Right.
still going to be run poorly, and
Yep.
unless there's a salary floor, you're not going to get out of the dumpster, dude. You're not. So, um, I don't know, man. It fires me up. Anything else you want to add to that conversation?
No, well said. That last point is so true. The top, I wouldn't even say 10, maybe like seven, eight teams. They're all going to be competing every year, and no one else. And it'll create a wider gap
Yeah, it's kind of what
than
you have in
there is.
basketball right now, right? There's a salary like cap or whatever in basketball, but it's the same freaking 10 team. Like, that's what it ends up being. And the rest of them, it just exposes. It's really going to expose who really, because then what's your excuse, right? Like, there's a salary cap and you still suck. What's your excuse?
Right.
So let's learn from the other leagues, is what I have to say. So, yeah, I mean, on that note, um, I think I mean, look, we'll see what comes of it. Like, and it does like kind of scare me as a fan because I'm like, dude, we're enjoying this like beautiful era of baseball where there's crazy growth, crazy growth, crazy growth, and you want to put a lid on it? That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. And it's because of greedy owners. There's no other way to look at it, right? And it's not just a baseball thing. It is a thing across all industries, I would
It's a
say.
society thing. Yeah, I think.
Yes, and it happens in every single industry where who gets the shit end of the stick? It's the consumer. It's the consumer every single time, right? Because the people are going to get away with, look, and to draw parallels, I'm a big Mexican soccer fan, right? Big Mexican soccer fan. There's 18 teams in that league. Arriba las Chivas. I'm a big Chivas fan, right? But that league has shot itself in its foot, right? Because they've just taken away things that are detrimental to the future of the league. So in soccer, it's accustomed, and we don't do it in Mexico or in the United States, but relegation is a big thing, right? The bottom team or bottom two teams, get relegated to the second league, and then the top two teams in the second division get moved up. They got rid of that in Mexico, right? So what do you think the bottom of the barrel teams are going to do? They're just going to stay bad, right? They're just going to capitalize because every single time the top two, top four teams visit your stadium, you get to fill it up one time, you get to still make a profit, right? Um, and so by not having maybe a salary floor in baseball, you're going to get a similar thing. You're going to bail people out, right? We're never going to see obviously something like relegation in Major League Baseball. I don't even think I would want that, right? Um, but I think it's there's not enough being done to hold those organizations accountable when there's so many people willing to take over and reinvest. Look at the Clippers, right? Steve Ballmer, what he's done to that organization. And I don't know, you've seen it around the league with different things, right? I think Steve Cohen maybe thought he was going to do that with the Mets.
Yeah.
He had an opportunity, he still has an opportunity to do that with the Mets. I would just get less, if I were him, give him advice since he'll for sure take my advice, right? Um, um, just build your institution from the ground up, dude. do that first, right? I think yes, we know you can afford Juan Soto or whatever, but it's a house built on sand if you don't fix other things first. So, and the Dodgers house is not built on sand, right? So, and we were willing to take our licks early in the process, right? Having some talented rosters and then other things falling apart in the meantime. So, meanwhile, building up the institution that we have now. So, um, so I guess I don't know. Maybe I beat a dead horse. Maybe we didn't. But yeah, man. Look, back to this year's Dodgers. Again, we're first place, up 6 games, and heading into June, which is kind of when the dog days really start, right? I mean, I think June, July, like as you head to the All-Star break. Um, we've been doing our little daily videos, post-game little 1 minute recaps. And we got a comment from our friend Dan Kalbacher, right? The OG fans, the OG listeners are going to know the Mount Rushmore. And he's one of our Mount
Yeah,
Rushmore listeners since day one.
most definitely.
Um, he asked us in the comments there, what if we have any potential deadline predictions um, as we head into those dog days and kind of knowing exactly what our roster is starting to look like. You got anything?
Sure thing. I think there's an obvious uh, pitcher for the Tigers out there that is, it was hot on the rumor mill during the offseason for the Dodgers. But aside from maybe some smaller move, if Kike's, recovery might not go well, and they need Edmund is on the cusp of, I think, coming up with the big league club. He's been rehabbing down in AAA, but if they need a utility guy, I could see them looking into something like that. Some righty bat, just because of the hole there with a couple of we're left-handed heavy as it is, and then even our prospects are lefty, most of them. So a righty bat or a utility guy, if that's one and the same player. But I think that there we could start to hear whispers that may or may not grow of a certain superstar that I would absolutely love to have. And he'd be my favorite pickup outside of Shohei Ohtani if it happens. And that would be Bobby Witt Jr. of the Kansas City Royals. They're in last place right now. Um, doesn't seem like things are going to turn around there. He has a amazing contract for his skill set. He should be one of
Hmm.
the top, maybe 3 or 4 players in baseball, salary wise, and he isn't. He's locked up, but beyond that, he is a player that I would love. I think he screams Dodger blue, not royal blue.
Yeah. I love Bobby Witt Jr. I think I remember he was one of the more highly touted guys coming up, and when he bursted onto the scene, he's been an MVP candidate, this and that. But didn't really get a chance to watch him kind of day in and day out until the World Baseball Classic, and just the energy that he injects is just what he's able to do at shortstop. I mean, he's honestly, yeah, he's one of my favorite players at this point. Not in a Dodger uniform, I would put him right up there. Obviously, there's things that would come with that. Would obviously moving Mookie Betts out of shortstop, boohoo, right? But you touched on his contract, 11 years, $288 million dollars, dude. Come on, man. That's such a bargain for that type of guy. And it almost looks like the Kansas City Royals have conveniently structured that deal to have exit ramps, right? Not in the form of necessarily opt-outs, and there might be a couple in there, but 2024 salary, $2 million. 2025 salary, $7 million. 2026 salary, $13 million. 2027 salary, $19 million. After that, it jumps up to 30, 35, 35. It just goes up and up and up, right? So it almost looks like, hey, like we're gonna trade you, right? But just wear a uniform for a few more years. That'd be incredible, man. That would be awesome. And yeah, I guess he has an opt out. There's a 3 year club option actually after the 11th, whatever. But that would be wow. And just seems like a high character guy too, kind of like just would fit in perfectly. I don't want to get too excited about it because I don't know.
Yeah, but I,
I
I
don't
think you're
know.
going to start hearing it. And if it doesn't happen this year, then, maybe next year, as you indicated with the way the contract is structured, at some point soon here, I think you're going to start hearing whispers of that. If there's any team that has that would have the willingness and the capability to go and make a run at him with the prospect capital, it would absolutely be the Dodgers.
Yeah, because like let's think about just the reality of the way our team is aging a little bit, and honestly the decline of Mookie Betts, right? I think that's real. Uh, that's at least a real conversation to have. I think he looks better now than he did the first few weeks of the season, but I think that's happening. So wow. Look, I would be thrilled, ecstatic. I think every Dodger fan should be if should something like that happen. But I mean, look, if I can make a prediction, I would predict that not much is gonna happen. I think that's kind of. I think as the deadline approaches, we're gonna feel like we were getting acquisitions based off of the guys that are gonna be coming off the injured list, right? Because we're 6 games up right now with a lot of guys missing, right? Um, but you put Tommy Edman back in this on this roster, Blake Snell, Tyler Glass now, Edwin Diaz. I mean, it's gonna feel like we had some acquisitions leading up to that. So I don't know that they're gonna go out and make that big splash, given just the talent of this team and as it stands is a World Series, I would say favorite, right? So um, I think there's only yeah again only the Braves have a better record, but I don't know put them up in a 7 game series even today. I don't wouldn't just hand it to the Braves. Um, so man, I think that's interesting. But I mean, I don't know. I would think they're just gonna add around the edges, but I mean, the Bobby Wood Jr. would just be insane. So, um, Bobby Wood Jr. Um, in Dodger Blue just makes a lot of sense now. Well, I'm excited. Thanks, Frank. You got me super excited.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. Anything else? I mean, honestly, to be honest, I don't foresee too much else happening at the deadline.
Yeah, my prediction isn't that it's going to happen. My prediction is that you'll hear whispers of it. You'll start to, it'll be a conversation in some corners that'll, I think, only grow. So that's what I'm predicting.
Okay. Yeah. And if he does become quote unquote available, of course the Dodgers are going to get. I mean, it's like the biggest leverage is if the Dodgers are involved. So their name will get thrown around in there. So cool, man. Look, anything else that we want to touch on this week, or we want to kind of see how everything plays out?
Yeah, let's see how it plays out.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Let's Be Frank podcast. Again, thank you for sticking with us this long. Follow us on X at Let's Be Frank Pod, on Instagram at Let's Be Frank Pod, on youtube.com/at Let's Be Frank Pod. The at is included in the slash and URL. Full episodes on X, on YouTube, Instagram. You'll get some clips on there and links and whatnot. And yeah, just looking forward to some engagement from you guys and seeing what you have to think and um, maybe a mailbag episode here in the next couple weeks. But regardless, we appreciate you all. We're the Franks. You're the franchise. We'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.